You are not her father.
Oh, yeah. Crazy. You need to go to a mental hospital.
Miss Webb.
There, get her there.
Mr. Webb, Miss Reams, stop.
I really thought he was the dad. I just feel really stupid.
Jermaine Truth Benning Jr., your concern is that the truth is you are not his biological father. Ms. Bodine, do you know who Jermaine Jr.'s father is?
No, Your Honor.
You don't remember sleeping with people, or is it just that there were so many you can't remember?
This court case was an outright tragedy. Or was it? Mrs. McDaniels should have been at home dealing with grief and tending to her toddlers, a 2-year-old daughter and an 18-month-old son, but no! The rumor mill had churned scandalous news concerning her family, so she was in court that morning with the hope of salvaging whatever was left of her marriage. What was the problem?
Mrs. McDaniel, you opened your case today in hopes of salvaging your marriage with the defendant. You claim you two have suffered a great loss and should be grieving, but instead, due to rumors, your husband is denying your 2-year-old daughter, Ava Wells, and 18-month-old son, Daryl Wells.
Apparently, Mr. Wells, her husband, was making an outrageous claim questioning the paternity of the kids he shared with Mrs. McDaniels, and he even boasted of having evidence backing such claims. What sort of evidence could have made him so certain? What was his source?
You claim you have substantial evidence to prove you didn't father Ms. Wells' kids and say,
the saddest part was, while Mrs. McDaniels was struggling to deal with the loss of her son a few months ago, Mr. Wells was no longer interested in investing time or energy in kids he believed were no longer his. This family was falling apart. Were they always this unhappy?
You cannot give 100% of yourself until you have proof you did. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. McDaniel, what is your husband's denial doing to your family?
It's destroying us. Like, we don't need to go through this because we just lost a son 6 months ago and we need to be grieving with each other. And for him to deny my kids, it's destroying us even.
Initially, the estranged couple had met when Mr. Wells convinced his 5-year-old nephew to be a wingman and asked Mrs. McDaniels for her phone number. They were so happy. So what went wrong? Could they possibly find happiness again?
I want to get into these rumors, but before I do, I just want to get a little background on your family. Take me back. You all met.
We met, he was with his sister, and it was at a convention center, and he tried to get his 5-year-old to give me his number, and I was like, no, you asked.
A 5-year-old?
He called me friend. He called me friend.
It was my nephew. I seen that she spoke with my sister and them, so my nephew knew her, so I asked my nephew to go.
Your nephew was 5?
Yeah, at the time, he was 5.
Word on the street was Mr. Wells's wife, Mrs. McDaniels, was cheating on him since they had their first child and that the kids weren't his. Considering they have had 3 kids since then, why didn't he say anything? How credible is his source? Why now when they just lost a kid?
We both lost a son, but it's just the rumors and everything that I can't deal with it no more.
How long have you been hearing rumors?
I've heard them since the first one was born, the one we lost.
So since you all basically got together and started having children, you've heard rumors that your wife is with someone else?
Yes, that my kids belong to somebody else.
And who told you that?
My ex.
Surprisingly, Mr. Wells got this tea from his ex-girlfriend, who had told him that his wife was promiscuous and that the kids might not be his. Why was he listening to anything his ex had to say over his wife?
Megan is the thought of the place where they work at.
But this is your wife she's talking about.
Yes, yes.
So she just decides she's gonna call you out the blue and tell you your wife is a thought.
I mean, well, not out the blue, but she heard that she was pregnant. So she was like, I just want to let you know that might not be your baby.
Oh, so she was warning you.
Yeah.
And so when she told you this, did you have reason to believe or to suspect?
At first I didn't, no.
It turned out that Mr. Wells thought she had been sneaky way before then with her calls and text messages, but she denies this in court. Mrs. McDaniels thinks it may be something more than cleared call and text histories. What is really the truth at this point?
If you've got a good woman that you don't have any questions about, you trust her, she only goes to work, she comes back home, she's a good wife, she's, gonna be the mother of your children, how is it that some ex can come in and tell you something about your wife?
Well, it wasn't, after that, then she's been sneaky on the phone.
Ms. McDaniel starts acting sneaky?
Yeah, she's covering up her text messages, erasing them.
Oh, I delete my text messages. It's been a habit since I was little. I delete my texts every day at midnight, and I can admit to that.
The most surprising information was Mr. Wells thinks Ava, their second kid, isn't his because of the rumors of infidelity and lack of resemblance to him. Shocking, considering the vast racial difference between himself and Mrs. McDaniels. He had even told the kid she wasn't his kid. Was he right, or did he just not understand Darwin's theory?
The rumors, and then she doesn't look like me. All of my kids, they all favor me in some way, you know.
He has told my daughter, I'm not your daddy, go find your daddy.
What?
I did not say that.
Mr. Wells,
I did not say.
what did you say?
I probably told her, like, I ain't your daddy. Like, you know, meaning today. Just a joke, though. I just playing with her.
No, that's not a joke.
Even more mind-boggling was the fact that Mr. Wells clearly also believes his last child isn't his because he failed to meet his own fail-proof genetic testing method. He believed his son should have had a roller coaster head, and he had a chart to prove it. Was this proof? A roller coaster head chart is total bonkers.
Your doubts have gotten you to the point where you're looking at a 2-year-old child who potentially could be your child, you don't believe it, and you say, I'm not your daddy. And how does she react when he says that?
I don't know how she feels or anything because I'm not her, but it hurts. I mean, she loves him to death. Like, she's a daddy's girl. I mean, she is my twin all the way, but she has his nose and she has a smart mouth.
Mr. Wells had been through a lot dealing with grief, bad rumors, and of course the kid's failure to meet Mr. Wells' roller coaster head chart was totally causing him to lose sleep at night. The court wasn't keen on the chart as proof, and so they had a different metric for proof.
At the end of the day, all of this doubt is truly tearing your family apart. You have this beautiful connection, this beautiful relationship, and now you are barely talking, sleeping in different bedrooms.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're not even at a place where you can grieve the loss of your child together. That's a lot, and that's hurtful.
That was my firstborn right there, and he was the world to me. So for him to deny my other ones tears me apart.
The court had 2 DNA tests. It was time to let this couple know what the truth was so everyone could move on. This was the moment of truth. This was a total drum roll moment.
Mr. Wells, you are the father. You look relieved.
I am. Very relieved. Very relieved.
Good.
The 2-year-old and 18-month-old's paternity results showed what no one was expecting, particularly Mr. Wells. Who is the father?
Second result. Mr. Wells, you are the father.
Sorry, baby.
Looks like the roller coaster head chart was too old to work for modern-day genetic testing, and Mr. Wells' ex didn't know what she was talking about at all. The tea was a stale lie. The truth had made everyone feel it was time to grieve.
Now that we have this result, tell them how it makes you feel.
I love you and I want our marriage to improve, but we need to grieve over our son and be there for each other. And I hope you start believing things I say, not your ex or any family members.
This courtroom showdown was a total fiasco. Was the kind that left a lump in everyone's throat. Mr. Benning had just learned after an appearance in couples court that his wife was cheating on him. He now had reasonable cause to doubt the paternity of his kids.
Hello.
This is the case of Benning versus Bodine.
Thank you, Jerome. Good day, everyone. Mr. Benning, you recently appeared in couples court and it was confirmed that the defendant cheated on you. This infidelity has caused questions regarding your 2-year-old daughter, Robin, and 6-month-old son, Jermaine Jr.'s paternity.
Despite reasonable doubts that his 2-year-old daughter and 6-month-old son may not be biologically his, Mr. Bennington was hopeful that he might be wrong, and surprisingly, on the other hand, his wife, Mrs., was very certain and even had proof that the kids were certainly his.
Well, that both are your children, you now have doubts. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Bodine, you claim that you are certain the plaintiff is Robin and Jermaine Jr.'s father and have evidence to support your claim. Is that correct?
Mr. Benning was so excited when he heard he was having a daughter after losing his sister early on in life, but this happiness was short-lived as doubt started to crowd his mind on the paternity of his daughter. But despite all of that, he loved her dearly. What had put salt in Mr. Benning's otherwise sweet tea?
And how these paternity doubts are affecting you.
Well, first off, Your Honor, my mother passed away when I was 14 years old. She was my best friend. We spent every waking moment together. And after she died, it, left me hurt. I always wanted a daughter, and I promised I was going to take care of her and treat her like my mother took care of me.
Despite admitting to cheating on Mr. Benning, Ms. Bodine asserted the daughter was his because she got pregnant with their daughter while she was pregnant.
And so tell me about the day you first found out she was pregnant.
Well, when she first came home and told me she was pregnant, I was excited, and especially once we found out that it was a girl. That's something that I've always wanted. I had hyped me up.
Receiving a text from another man, claiming to be the father of his baby while his wife was in the delivery room just across from him, was the last thing Mr. Benning expected to happen. But that was exactly what happened. How could anyone deal with the repercussions of such a bold declaration?
It happened during labor, Your Honor. I was in the hospital sitting across from Kayla as she was pushing this baby out, and I received a text from a guy telling me to leave the hospital because that's his baby and he needs to be there.
Determined to pay the troll no mind and love his kid, he keeps it a secret and goes ahead to sign her birth certificate. That text totally had to be lying, or was it? The doubts started to creep in like Jack's beanstalks, but he was a fighter, or so he thought.
What do? You can't say anything to Miss Bodine while she's in labor, can you?
I just kept going and I signed her birth certificate.
So you just kept going through the entire experience?
I pushed through it. I wanted my daughter and I wasn't letting anybody take her from me.
So even though you had the doubts, you had to know.
Meanwhile, a very unashamed yet swift and resolute Ms. Bodine had conducted a test on her daughter and the man who had sent the text to her husband, and found out his claims were bogus. This meant her husband had to be the father, and that was undeniable proof, or so she thought.
So, Miss Bodine, this other man sent a text to Mr. Benning while he's by your side at the hospital. How do you know this other guy is not the biological father?
Because, Your Honor, I stood up and did the woman and the mother thing I had to do and got the other.
The twist in the plot, however, is that despite Ms. Bodine's swift action, her husband's doubts couldn't be cleared, considering she had cheated on him with multiple partners.
So he was not the father?
No, he wasn't, because Jermaine's the father.
All right. So, Mr. Benning, you still build the relationship, but you still have a doubt?
Yes. Quite a few. First off, their DNA test doesn't mean anything considering the fact that—
Moreover, it turns out Ms. Bodine taunted Mr. Benning about not being their daughter's father anytime they got in a spat. Apparently, she knew that was the worst way to hurt him in a quarrel and used it at will.
Wrong. I'm also reminded, oh, you're not her father. As soon as we start to argue, you're not her father. But if you need something, I'm the father.
You say stuff to hurt my feelings. Why can't
I
I do
ever
it
told
to
you that you're not the parent of your kid?
You can't. I pushed him out.
Poor Mr. Benning had to deal with a constant barrage of calls from strange men claiming to be his daughter's father, and his wife hitting him below the belt with the same claims every time they fought. He believed his daughter was his mother's reincarnation, and every time he heard he wasn't her father, it felt like life was taking his mom away repeatedly.
She looks just like your mom.
Mr. Benning, I do want you to explain to Miss Bodine, because I feel like, Miss Bodine, to say someone is not the father of a child, now that's a little below the belt.
That's not just hurting somebody's feelings,
Yeah.
it's ruining somebody's life.
And I want you to tell her what that feels like so she can understand. What does that feel like when she says that to you, Mr. Benning?
In spite of her taunting her husband about not being her daughter's biological father, Ms. Bodine still asserted unashamedly that she believes he is her daughter's biological father. But unsurprisingly, Mr. Benning wasn't having it. What could the truth be?
The child isn't his.
I don't know. I cannot control what other people say. I know what I'm saying and I know what I prove. So you have your daughter or not. I'm here to prove today that you're the father.
Because you are just 100% certain.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
The facts were clear as stated by the judge in a shocking twist of fate. Ms. Bodine's daughter was someone else's biological daughter. Mr. Benning resolutely still loved her regardless, but wanted to know the paternity of his 6-month-old son. The court obliged his request.
Mr. Benning, you are not the father. I'm very sorry.
It doesn't matter, I'm still gonna be there. I'm lonely when she calls daddy. You can't change it. We spent 2 years together. You can't change that. You can't take that away.
Experiencing a real sense of déjà vu with his son, because the same thing that played out with his daughter's birth, including paternity questions being raised by strangers, texting his phone, questioning the paternity of the child, and his wife taunting him yet again, Mr. Benning had little hope the baby was his. Maybe he was wrong.
On top of that, the same thing with the, texting me, telling me I'm not the father. I even received a text telling me after he was born, which I still went through the whole labor, everything. After that, after all that, I get a text telling me, oh, I want a paternity test for Jermaine too.
It was time to smell the coffee, and Mr. Benning was ready for the truth about his son's paternity. He would love him regardless and support him no matter the outcome.
Mr. Benning, what are your hopes?
I hope Jermaine's mine. I really do. It'd be good to know at least one of my kids is mine. Yeah, I'm looking forward to spending all the time I can with them.
The verdict was out, and the judge dropped the bomb. Was everything going to be okay in the future?
Mr. Benning, you are not the father.
What the?
Oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Benning.
I got cribs and playpens and toys, and I've done everything that I do, and
The puzzling case of Lohman versus Mitchell had those sitting in the court gallery clutching their pearls. Mr. Lohman had vowed not to marry his fiancée if their daughter wasn't his.
Hello, Your Honor.
Hello.
This is a case of Lohman versus Mitchell.
Thank you, Jerome. Good day, everyone. Ms. Lohman, you are in court today hoping and praying your fiancé, Mr. Mitchell, is the biological father of your daughter, London, and you and your mother are here to prove it.
Apparently, Mitchell's family had told him they believed he was being taken advantage of by his family, coupled with the fact that his fiancée had also mentioned that his daughter may or may not be his biological child, had initiated doubt in his paternity.
All right, so you're joined by your cousin who fears you're being taken advantage of by the plaintiff. So, Ms. Lohman, today's results will determine the future of your family. Explain.
Your Honor, when me and Jonathan got together, I was very happy.
Things get even more interesting as Ms. Lohman reveals that she and Mr. Mitchell started off as sneaky links when he started living with her and her family in their family home, despite her being in a relationship at the time. Mr. Mitchell had made the first move on her.
So talk to me about the nature of your relationship.
We met when we were sophomores in high school. Junior year, we had a lot of classes together, so we became really good friends. And, he started opening up to me and telling me, about his home life.
And so your relationship started while he was living with you and your family?
Never for sure told him he hasn't been.
It came to be that the unprotected, sneaky links between Lohman and Mitchell continued, and her boyfriend at the time never found out. So when Ms. Lohman got pregnant, her boyfriend believed the baby was his until it wasn't. So who was the dad?
But you're still in a relationship with this boyfriend at the time, am I correct, Ms. Lohman?
Yes, Your Honor.
So what was that situation like?
He never found out, and to this day, he still doesn't know.
He does not know to this day that you were also sleeping with Mr. Mitchell.
Right, Your Honor.
Was this just a one-time thing when you all ended up having sex, or did it continue?
In an unsurprising turn of events, Ms. Lohman's affair was catching up with her quickly as she found out when she was 6 weeks pregnant that the baby had been conceived at a time when she had slept with Mr. Mitchell more than her initial boyfriend. Was this enough reason to believe he was the baby daddy?
That point, were you all dating now, you and Ms. Lohman?
No, Your Honor. We were not dating at the time I told him there was a possibility. I was still with my ex at the time.
Okay. And so this ex believed this is my child.
Yes, Your Honor.
You never said anything to Mr. Mitchell.
Furthermore, baby London's features, which in Ms. Lohman's opinion were very similar to Mr. Mitchell's, strengthened her belief that he was her baby daddy. Was she right?
Everything pointed to Mr. Mitchell.
Yes, Your Honor.
How do you tell him?
We were sitting at home, and I told him, I was like, there is a possibility that London could be yours, and because I looked at the dates. And then after she was born, I was like, Mr. Mitchell, she looks just like you. I was like, she has your eyes, the same exact eye color.
However, Mr. Mitchell's cousin begged to differ with the argument that Ms. Lohman simply chose her current fiancé to be the child's father simply because he was convenient and would take care of the kid.
I believe that she knows that Jonathan is going to do what is right. He loves the baby, and he is going to step up and be the father that she needs. And I feel like because she knows that is why we are in the situation we are in.
This begs the question, did Ms. Lohman really believe that was her baby's daddy because of her conception dates? Or because she just wanted him to be her baby daddy because she loved him and it was convenient? She denied the latter.
The point is this: you say you love this man, and you say you truly believe he's London's biological father. My question is this: is your belief that he's London's biological father rooted in the fact that you love him so much?
The moment of truth was here. Would the results allow Ms. Lohman to be a bride in the coming weeks? Would Mr. Mitchell get to explore the joys of being a girl dad?
Mr. Mitchell, you are not the father. Miss Lohman, I can tell that was not the news you were expecting to hear.
This case is one for the Delulous. Mr. Webb was forced to be in court together with his girlfriend to prove that he was not the father of another woman, Ms. Cole's baby. Ms. Cole, on the other hand, wasn't here for his denial and was ready to prove beyond reasonable doubts Mr. Webb was her baby daddy.
Please be seated.
Hello, Your Honor.
Hello.
This is the case of Webb versus Cole.
Thank you, Jerome. Good day, everyone. Mr. Webb, you and your girlfriend say there's no chance whatsoever that you fathered the defendant's 6-month-old daughter, Majestic.
Not to be deterred by threat of strong proof, on the other hand, Ms. Cole and her mother were very certain that Mr. Webb was her baby's father, and the only reason he was saying the contrary was to save his 3-year-old relationship. So who was telling us the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Miss Cole, you and your mother say you're 100% certain that Mr. Webb is your child's biological father and say the only reason he's denying your baby is to save his relationship.
A chilling bombshell was dropped by Mr. Webb as his first line of defense. He had never slept with Ms. Cole, and so couldn't possibly be her baby daddy. This was the curious case of Joseph and Mary again, except this time, Mary was certain Joseph was the father. Or was he? Interestingly,
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so Mr. Webb, how can you be so certain you are not this child's biological father?
I never had sex with her, Your Honor.
Well, that would rule. You've never had sex with her?
No.
Yeah, he did.
She's a liar. She's crazy.
Mr. Webb had stayed in Ms. Cole's house for a specific period of time. The exact duration of time both parties couldn't agree on, but Ms. Cole was certain they slept with each other at that time. Was someone lying? Delusional? Or just maybe telling the truth between these two?
Rarely have we ever heard that you've never had sex with her.
She's absolutely crazy.
So you think she's just making this up?
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
Yes.
If you've never had sex, why are you here?
I know for a fact the dates line up, and I know he stayed with me for 2 months, and he slept in my bed with me for 1 night, and we had sex. April 11th.
That's when you believe you conceived your daughter?
Yeah.
This was a case of two cities, with each one telling stories that didn't align with each other to make sense. The judge was greatly puzzled and in dismay as the parties hurled aggressive accusations of falsehood, and it turns out, not only was Ms. Cole married, she insists Mr. Cole, who was a guest in their home at some point, was the father of the baby from the marriage.
So, Miss Cole, you said you and your husband were taking care of Mr. Webb?
Yes, and my grandkids and anybody else that needed.
Why was Mr. Webb living with you?
He's a punk bum. We
Honor,
supplied everything for them.
Why were you living there?
I wasn't living there. We were hanging out for a week and a half.
Enter Mr. Webb's girlfriend. She explains why she's standing 10 toes behind her man and why she believes he's not the father either. Ms. Cole wasn't here for her claims either.
She knew about it. We were friends. She trusts me. She knows I'm not like that. I don't do that type of stuff.
I've known him for 7 years and he's not like that at all. She was telling me that they were sleeping together and stuff. He wasn't even there for 3 weeks. He was there for a week, maybe a week and a half. Yes, he was I knew they were hanging out.
She had heard her voice in the background numerous times. How does that make sense?
Undeterred and unashamed, Ms. Cole had been reaching out to Mr. Webb's partner to allege their sexcapades and also informed her of the pregnancy she believed was Mr. Webb's. The girlfriend initially believed her, but was subsequently not here for her lies, and neither was her boyfriend, Mr. Webb. Let's see why.
And what you're saying is you never ended up being intimate with her, like
No.
she's saying.
All right,
No.
where did you sleep?
On the couch in the living room.
Mr. Webb, how did you find out she was pregnant? Do you have a diagram?
Yes.
I'd like to see it. Please step forward.
This is how this went, the first message. She messaged me saying, hey, I got an ultrasound. She had sent me an ultrasound saying, that's a 3D photo. Tell me she don't look like you.
Moreover, Ms. Cole was also in court to contest and confirm the paternity of her child because she had another partner at the time. She clearly had niggling doubts on who the father might be, but why exactly was she more certain Mr. Webb was her baby father? Did they really not sleep together like Mr. Webb claims?
He's the dad, because I did have another partner. It was a month.
Wait a minute, Miss Cole.
Look, she looks just like him.
That baby's white.
I'm sorry. Yes, Your Honor. I immediately texted him and called the other guy, and I told both of
That's a
them.
lie.
So this calendar outlines what exactly?
Clearly, this case was far from over. Mr. Webb was so certain he never slept with Mrs. Cole. He insinuated that maybe the only reason he has no recollection of the action if it did happen was because Ms. Cole might have done something unseemly to his food or drink. Ms. Webb's rebuttal to this statement was literally below the belt, but Mr. Webb's girlfriend was ready to defend her man. What did they have to say?
There was 2 witnesses there that said that they never had sex at the party.
2 of our friends were there. One of them were her family members, and even he said that we didn't do nothing.
If it goes on that long, are you sure that one night of partying didn't lead you to sleep with her and you may not even recall?
The judge was so done with both parties after they kept comparing ethnic and genetic traits, whilst also hurling insults and disrespecting the court. It was time to solve the paternity mystery.
He's the father. I was without my father for 39 years. I want to know that my grandchild has a father. I know how it is.
This is.
Oh,
These
yeah,
are some
I do
text
wanna ask
messages that she.
I'm sorry, I'm still getting over the previous testimony. Jerome, pass me this evidence. You believe there's a resemblance?
Oh, yeah, for sure, yeah.
Apparently, the other prospective father for baby Majestic was incarcerated, and Mr. Webb had never entertained the idea of being a father. Yet Ms. Cole thought she would have the last laugh and be vindicated in court. Well, let's see who did.
Mr. Webb, you are not her father.
Oh! Yeah! You're crazy! You need to go to a mental hospital!
Ms. Webb!
There, get her there! Get her there!
Mr. Webb, Ms. Reams, stop.
But I want a lie detector.
Listen, we don't clown in this courtroom.
Nothing short of melodramatic, this case was one for the books. Mr. Walls had caught his wife in the most awkward position with someone else after being away for a short while.
Please be seated.
Hello, Your Honor.
Hello.
This is the case of Walls versus Walker.
Thank you, Jerome. Good day, everyone. Mr. Walls, you say that after spending a short time...
The gag is, that wasn't the first time she was doing something like that. He clearly couldn't trust her, but not to be outdone, Ms. Walker had a few choice adjectives to describe Mr. Walls, too.
Mr. Walls, you say that after spending a short time away from Ms. Walker, you caught her with someone else's hands in her cookie jar.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you say Ms. Walker is a serial cheater and there is no way you are her child's father.
Yes, Your Honor.
They weren't always this hostile towards each other. How did they get here? The parties take a trip down memory lane to narrate how they met and why the doubts about the child's paternity started. It was love next door for the estranged couple, and they had a lot to say.
So, Mr. Walls, how did you get in this relationship?
Well, I worked across the street from where Dominique stayed, and when Dominique would walk out of her house going down the street, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? You know, trying to catch her attention.
Ms. Walker?
Yes, Your Honor.
He seemed like he was a gentleman courting you. You went out with him?
Knowing that Ms. Walker was thirsting after other men while he wasn't in the picture for a brief period might have been the catalyst for doubts concerning the paternity of the child to arise. He had even spied on her, or maybe a silhouette.
So you all were having sex?
Yeah.
Without protection,
Pretty much.
but not in a relationship. So when she told you she was pregnant and it was your child, you had doubt?
Yeah.
Your Honor, when I told her I was pregnant, and he had said, well, I need to take a DNA test because he said he didn't trust me.
But she admitted to cheating, though.
The plot thickened even further as Mr. Walls exposed seeing Ms. Walker during one of her alleged sneaky links. At this point, the members of the audience were all clutching their pearls at the admission that she might have been in the family way when this happened. Ms. Walker remained unperturbed by the allegations as she tagged them as unfounded. Was it really so?
I goes all the way back around the corner, come back, slow down. Like, that ain't Ms. Walker. Like, nah. So I said, forget it. I drive on around again. I'm on
You're
around
on
again.
your third lap?
Yeah, I'm on my third lap now.
Step back over to the podium, sir. Thank you for that description.
Surprisingly, Mr. Walls also had skeletons in his moral closet, as apparently he wasn't very single while creeping around Ms. Walker. She also had a very interesting rebuttal to who Mr. Walls might have seen her with, which begs the question, who was telling the truth?
It was a family member.
Yeah, get them.
It was one of my family members came over to check on me because I was calling him the same day. I was calling him, calling him.
If I had a nickel.
Because
If I had a nickel. So, you know, she knew this though. It wasn't no big secret to her.
Even more empty promises of commitment and missed birth deadlines, this case was turning into an explosive mess. Side partners and a baby mama and kids for a flatmate? It was at the very least melodramatic. This couple were playing a game with each other and neither wanted to lose.
He was telling me that he gonna promise to leave her.
Hold on. Throughout the pregnancy, you were by yourself?
Yes, Your Honor.
He didn't help you go to doctor's appointments or any of that kind of stuff?
Nothing. He was not
Was
there
he at the birth?
No.
Is he on the birth certificate?
Why I wasn't at the birth?
His name
Let's
was on
not
the birth
get there.
certificate, no.
Let's not get there why I wasn't at the birth.
Clearly, Ms. Walker and Mr. Walls, having almost a football team worth of kids between them, didn't teach them to protect themselves during sneaky links, coupled with the fact that Ms. Walker's pregnancy was asymptomatic, led to a baby they didn't bargain for. The court brought in a specialist in obstetrics to discuss this, and she had a lot to say.
And one thing leads to the next. I'm on the pool table.
Oh, it was
we did not use
operating hours?
Huh?
No,
it wasn't.
No. Club that I had belonged to, you know, as a member, you can have a key to the bar.
To thicken the plot, Mr. Walls was suing Ms. Walker for a specific sum of money as damages for the car he allegedly gave her, but Ms. Walker had something entirely different to say. Looks like details will never align with this couple.
You're suing for $2,500?
Yes.
You say you lent Ms. Walker your car?
Yes.
And never got it back?
No.
Explain.
In my heart, you know, I'm a big old softy. You know, in my heart, I was like, I'm gonna give Ms. Walker this car.
You gonna give her this car or you're going to let her use it?
I'm gonna let her use it.
It turned out Ms. Walker had gotten into a car accident and so couldn't account for the vehicle she was given. While she may not be able to give back the car, she was willing to give or expect an apology depending on the results of the paternity test.
I ain't could get the car back because I got in a car accident. The car was so messed up, Your Honor, it could not move. If he wanted the car, I could give him the car.
So
But
now you do admit that he told you to give it back. He was basically lending you the car.
The results were in, and the adjudicator was not playing around with this couple. She had given Ms. Walker at least 5 chances to come forth with the truth. It looked like Ms. Walker wasn't in suspense as to the results of the paternity test and knew who her baby's father was, unlike the rest of the court. Why wouldn't she just tell the court the truth? It had been 3 years since.
Mr. Walls, you are not her father. Ms. Walker, I gave you an opportunity, at least 5.
Well, I apologize. I'm sorry.
3 years, 3 years. Do you know who her father is?
Yeah.
Was it the guy in the car?
No.
Why not just be honest?
Because I was scared.